calls for presidential impeachment, billion-dollar contract cuts, possible involvement with Epstein Island, and civil apologies? The Musk-Trump bromance breakup is messy, but a recent Supreme Court ruling totally just dragged all Americans into the drama. Last week, the Supreme Court granted unprecedented access to every American's personal social security data. Everything from IP address, bank account information, credit card information, credit reports, even STD results. And the plans for your data will push the very limits of privacy for every single American. Cliffhanger! Jeffrey, have you ever met Jeffrey? Now, before we talk about how the tech bros down at DOGE are staring down your data harder than the single straight guy at the LA Lady Gaga concert, we've got to abracadabra back on how we got here. That's like it's the dance. Years before the world's richest baby daddy began his cost-cutting reign down at DOGE, the South African tech bro had anything but humble beginnings. And with parents involved in the literal emerald mining trade in Zambia, Elon had all the makings to be a solid Batman villain. But Elon instead helped found PayPal, and he later invested into other major tech companies, pretty much steering clear of making any major political affiliations. He would go on to share that he actually voted for every Democratic candidate from 2008 all the way to 2020. At the same time, he openly voiced a deep dislike for trade unions and public transport, and he often expressed libertarian views. So politically, he's like the drunk girl from college that just makes out with everybody at the bar. But it was in the late 2010s that Musk seriously entered into the political arena. And like a WWE star, he brought a chainsaw and a lot of money. And the money was moneying. In total, Musk dropped about $249 million to the 2024 Trump campaign and other Republican candidates in last year alone. But he didn't give that money out of the kindness of his arc reactor heart. That's like a Tony Stark reference. You should look it up. Musk's own Tesla and SpaceX account for at least $15.4 billion in government contracts over the last decade. In 2023 alone, his companies were promised $3 billion in nearly 100 different contracts with 17 federal agencies. Between government contracts and campaign donations, Musk and Trump were throwing more money than T-Pain in Atlanta on Magic City Monday. But they weren't making it clap for all contracts. Because during the 130-day period that Musk led DOGE, Elon terminated more than 80% of USAID grants, leading to the decimation of healthcare from people suffering from HIV, malaria, and tuberculosis, as well as ending aid sought to feed refugees in South Sudan. So while the world's richest man was overseeing cost cutting that led to an estimated 300,000 deaths, mostly children, Trump was setting up a backstab worthy of Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 2, because legislation in Trump's Big Beautiful Bill is expected to cut enrollment in Medicaid by 10.3 million people. It'll also cut nutrition, education, and Musk's main interest, clean energy bills. Because there's been speculation that the president's cutting of the EV mandate is the key reason for their fallout. And it didn't help that following the bill, Trump would later pull his nomination from fellow billionaire Jared Isaacman, an associate of Musk, to be NASA administrator, after discovering signs of disloyalty. So where does that leave us? Even though Elon was officially voted out of bro, DOGE is growing more powerful, as the organization recently claimed 2 Supreme Court victories that will greatly impact everyone in this country. Last month, President Trump signed an executive order calling for the consolidation of segregated records, one that members of his own party have expressed opposition to in the past because the information that they're requesting is deeply personal and is actually protected by privacy laws. But following the request, the Supreme Court ruled that DOGE can have full access to sensitive social security data. And in the second decision, the Supreme Court ruled that DOGE has no responsibility to turn over any of their internal records to any government watchdog group. Some experts have described this as God-level access, as they now have full purview to bank account information, routing numbers, earning information, social security numbers, mental and reproductive health records, and so much more. And then there's a $434 billion question. What could they possibly be doing with all of our data? Well, the IRS recently agreed to help the Department of Homeland Security obtain closely held taxpayer information to help identify immigrants for deportation. And in the future, nobody knows what they'll do. DOGE could use gender at birth information to target people in the trans community, or use reproductive records to target those seeking women's health care. Or maybe just good old-fashioned doxing, because the 20-something-year-olds down at DoFi Doge have every piece of your personal information. And it's happened before. And as a bonus, watchdog groups say that this trove of data would likely create a national security vulnerability that could be targeted by hostile nations. So even though it is so fetch watching two of the most powerful men on planet Earth duke it out Risa Tisa style on the interwebs, we have to consider what else is happening behind the scenes after Elon's exit. Wow, what a ride. Am I right? This was fun. We have fun. This was fun. Go ahead and smash that like button. A big thank you to all the new subscribers. I'm so glad to have y'all here. At the second of this video, there are 381 subscribers. If you're new here, please subscribe. It's totally free and it really helps. Thanks again. Y'all stay safe. I love you.
If you want more comedy videos, check out this video right here. If you want to watch what our AI overlords think is a better selection for you based off my content, select this. Thanks, Skynet.
Follow me. It's free.